I want to talk for a minute about empaths. I want to talk for empaths because there's this thing with like boundaries and empaths, and there's a lot of talk about it. And people will often say that empaths suffer because they feel everything and they can't help it. It's not their fault. They feel everything and they're constantly drained or beholden to other people's energy all the time. And I'm gonna tell you this, and this is probably not the popular view, but I'm not here to be popular. I call complete bullshit on that. That thing that empaths are always going to suffer is bullshit. Empaths suffer until two things happen. Empaths suffer until two things happen. One, they realize they don't have to and they decide not to. And two, they get the tools to do it differently. So I work with healers all the time. I work with healers and therapists and Reiki practitioners and yoga teachers. And I work with all types of people who help other people. And I teach people how to do this. I teach the healers and the empaths how to change the boundary so that more information can come through and you're not beholden. You're not a victim to everybody's feelings because it's not supposed to work that way. So, and it changes. The good news is if you're feeling like, oh, I'm an empath and I'm beholden to everybody's energy, oh shit, she's talking about me, it's fine. Things change. I see them change all the time. I help people create those changes. I have a client that I work with, have worked with, who is a school teacher. And she was having a problem with boundaries with one of her co-teachers that she would co-facilitate stuff with. They would have to have meetings on a regular basis, work things out for their co-teaching, and the co-teacher would run over her boundaries all the time. And she would leave these meetings feeling powerless and feeling drained. And we shift that. We shift that. She's a very sensitive person, and we were able to shift that not because we made her less sensitive, but because she learned how to work with her energy and could do it differently. Everybody can do it differently. And so um, I'm an empath, right? And I choose to do it differently. I don't talk about being empathic. It's not one of my identities that I'm an empath, but I'm definitely an empath. And I do it differently, and I'm not beholden to everybody else's energy. Important. So I want to talk about what to expect to when you are empathic and you're a healer or both, or however you want to identify, when you fall in this category, what you can expect to experience. You can expect to experience that people will look to you for advice and for energy. That's pretty much a given. You can expect that you commonly know what other people need and naturally help them. You can expect a heightened awareness and a response to other people's feelings. And you can expect to tap into spirit or the sacred forces pretty easily to help people. Those are some things that are given when you're a healer or an empath. Now, let's talk about some signs that you need to revamp your boundaries. It's one of the things that I wanted to cover. Signs, and you might find yourself in some of these, and if you do, it's totally fine. Awareness is first, action is second, change comes after the action that follows awareness. So, signs that you need to revamp your boundaries. You feel drained, you feel resentful, and you aren't receiving any support or help or nourishment for yourself. You feel drained or resentful, and you aren't receiving help or support or nourishment for yourself. Boundaries don't just mean saying no and putting up a line. Boundaries mean saying yes to your own support and growth. I don't know why, but for some reason, people who help other people get into this sort of like, can get into this sort of martyr mode where they don't allow any help in, they don't admit they need any help, they do it all. I think it's part of like our contemporary culture, makes you feel like you got to do everything on your own. Boundaries mean saying yes to your own support and your own growth. It doesn't mean you block everybody. It means you learn how to create a filter. You learn how to create a filter. And that's one of the things that I teach my folks, is to become a filter so you don't take other people's stuff on. But let's go back to the signs that you need to revamp your boundaries. Second sign is that people constantly ask you for things that you don't want to do. People constantly ask you to do things you don't want to do. That's a sign you need to revamp your boundaries. If people keep asking and you don't want to do it, then there's something happening there that you need to pay attention to and you need to take action on if you want it to change. Another thing, that sign that you need to revamp your boundaries, is when people are annoyed when you say no. If people are annoyed when you say no, that's a sign that your boundaries need to change. You have every right in the world to say no. You have every right in the world to say, let me think about that, or I'll get back to you. You actually don't have to make decisions to help people as soon as they ask you. And if people are annoyed when you say no, you need to shift a boundary. Another sign that you need to shift a boundary is that you feel guilty for saying no. How many of you feel guilty for saying no? How many of you feel like you don't even know how to say no? I want to know. I want to know. Tell me in the comments where you're at with this. So if you feel guilty for saying no, you need to check in with your why. You need to check in with your why. Why are you helping people? Because you got to ask yourself, what's your motivation? It is possible to be in a crappy relationship with helping. You can be a great healer and gifted and all that jazz, and you can be in a crappy relationship with the helping itself. And sometimes that just means we need to clean it up. We need to do it differently. I don't know any healer who walked into the world having everything perfect. Usually, healer's job is not to learn how to heal better. It's to learn how to create boundaries. And then if you're taking your business into the world, it's learn how to talk about what you do in a non-cheesy way. So if you feel guilty, something needs to change. And again, and I will say this until I can't talk anymore, if you are a helper, it's not your job to help everyone. It's not your job to help everyone. Not everybody is yours. So feeling guilty for saying no is a sign that you need to revamp your boundaries. I used to say yes to everything all the time. And I realized I might be saying yes to things coming from an unhealthy place. I have all these gifts and all these tools, and I'm always saying yes. So maybe I'm not in a great relationship with the helping itself. That can be a thing. We need to revamp it. Another sign that you need to revamp your boundaries is if you feel burnt out and you cannot prioritize yourself. You definitely need to change your boundaries. You should not be burnt out and not prioritizing yourself. If anything of these things are happening, you just need to do it differently. Hey there. If you're liking what you find here and what you're watching here on my channel, then you're going to need to check out my free training. Awaken the Wisdom Within is a 3-part mini-series where I show you how to start working with your energy so that you can tap more deeply into your intuition and do what you came here to do. Heal, transform, make the difference that you are here to make. I'll drop the link below, and then I'll see you in the next video.